Well, it gives me great pleasure to bring on board Jim Rogers to understand what he makes of the madness, the meltdown, the selling, and the blow up that's happened in just about every major commodity. Jim Rogers, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you? It's nice to see you.
Also, nice to have you back. Makes sense for the madness which is happening in the world.
Well, it's not your fault, I don't think. It is interesting that your market is calm today compared to what's going on in the rest of the world. It may mean that the rally is coming. We've had a huge drop, as you know, worldwide, and that often leads to a rally. I have no idea.
Jim, the fact that cryptocurrencies have melted, there is a fear that interest rates will move higher and that will slow down the economy more. What kind of narrative do you think is at play here? One side is fear, second side is a genuine fear of genuine compulsion of unwinding.
The world stock markets have been going up for 12 or 13 years. That's the longest in American history anyway. So we're certainly overdue for a problem. We don't have to have one, but we do. But inflation is coming back. Stocks in many countries were extremely high. Bubbles were developing in many countries. Interest rates had to go up. I mean, we're overdue for a bear market. I'm not trying to scare people or something, but we've always had bear markets throughout history, and we will have them again, and we're getting very close. I see a lot of pessimism in the world right now. That could lead to a rally if some good news comes, but we're going to have a bear market again, and it's coming soon, and it's going to be very, very bad.
Jim, I mean, honestly, there seems to be just one trade which is working out, and that's long dollar. So do you sense that in this bear scenario, that trade would continue to hold, and we will continue to see dollar appreciate as opposed to any other asset class?
Well, I've explained to you before that I own a lot of dollars, not because it's a sound currency, but because when there's turmoil, people look for a safe haven. Many people think the U.S. dollar is a safe haven. It's not, but people think it is. That's why I own it. And as the turmoil comes, more and more people will rush to the dollar to be safe. The dollar will get overpriced. The dollar could turn into a bubble. I hope I'm smart enough to get out.
Jim, you know, the other thing we were discussing is that everything in the world is falling down except for crude. That continues at $120, $122. And for India at least, or for that matter for the rest of the world, that doesn't solve anything. Your view on crude, and when do you think we're going to see a meaningful correction?
Well, it doesn't help many countries when the price of energy goes through the roof, as you well know. Unfortunately, known reserves of energy are in decline worldwide, and many countries have closed down coal mines, closed down nuclear power. And so we have to have a bull market in crude because people don't have any choice. I would expect this bull market in crude to last longer than most of us expect. Eventually, of course, more supplies will come on stream. Eventually, people will open nuclear power plants again. Eventually, people will open coal mines again. But in the meantime, we don't have any oil.
Okay. Jim, but again, I want to just extend Aisha's point, which is that if we are in for a slowdown, then demand also has to come down. With the exception of oil and coal, all major commodities have corrected.
Well, yes, look out the window. Stocks, assets are collapsing everywhere. I'm not the only one who knows it. I watch ET. Everybody who watches ET knows that problems are going on in the world. And so people are beginning to cut back, and some are cutting back dramatically. But to repeat, as a possible optimist, there is a lot of pessimism, and that often leads to a big rally if some good news comes. I don't know. Maybe there'll be peace in Ukraine. Who knows? Then we'll have a big rally, but that'll be the last rally.
If Fed suddenly does 75 bips, if they do, we don't know. But later this week, if we hear that Fed is going to move by 75 bips, will that scare the market or will that make the markets happy that they've bitten the bullet?
Well, that might be what the market would perceive as good news, because the market would then say, the worst is over. Now they raised interest rates by 75 basis points, so we can have a big rally. The market would see that as good news because they would say the worst is over. The worst won't be over, but the market might perceive that for a while because there's so much pessimism right now.
All right. Too much of pessimism. Message from Jim Rogers is that if there is good news, it could spark a wave of short covering. Jim, I'm going to go back to that opening comment of yours that we are in a bear market, and we are in a bear market after a 10, 12-year long bull market. So if we are in a bear market, and since bull market and bear market, they coexist, are we in for a very long protracted period of bear market? We may see smart rallies, Jim, that's okay. But otherwise, you think this is going to be a 5, 7-year long bear market?
This is going to be the worst bear market in my lifetime. We had a bear market in 2008 because of too much debt. And the debt everywhere has skyrocketed since 2008. Gigantic in Japan or Europe or America, everywhere. Even India, debt has gone up. So no, this has to be the worst bear market in my lifetime, which means it will go down a lot and it will last a long time. Do I like it? No, of course not. But I have to deal with reality, and there is staggering amounts of debt in the world now.
Good morning, Jim Rogers. So if we are in the grip of a bear market, can I ask you straight up, what would your advice be to investors? We are seeing cash holding worldwide surpass what it was during the great financial crisis. Back home in India in the last 2 years, we've seen penetration of our equity markets and many, many new first-time investors as well.
That always happens at the end of a bull market all over the world. It's not just India. You see lots of new people come in. They get excited about how easy it is to make money. They think it will last forever. This is not my first rodeo. I've seen this movie before. This is what happens. And yes, you're exactly right. A lot of new people are coming in. The only way that will save you is only invest in what you yourself know a lot about. Don't listen to the TV. Maybe you can listen to ET, but for the most part, do not listen to other people. Stay with what you know, and then you might survive. Listening to hot tips will ruin you.
Jim Rogers, I was reading an interview of yours, I think about a fortnight ago, and I wanted to ask you this question, and now I can, so I'm going to. About 2-3 weeks ago, you said you wish you had bought the Bitcoin 10 years ago. But since 2017, all your interviews, what I've been reading you talk about is it's all bubbles, it's all about a gamble, and you wouldn't go near it. Has Jim Rogers changed his mind when it comes to cryptos and Bitcoin?
No, not at all. What I said was, I wish I had bought it when it was $1. Don't you? Doesn't everybody? I mean, it went to $60,000. Of course, I wish I had bought it when it was $1 or $5, etc. That does not mean I've changed my mind about what's going to happen with cryptos. No, cryptos, I don't own any. I am not going to buy any as they come down. But I certainly wish I'd bought it at $5. I'd have a lot of money now. But that does not mean I've changed my mind and think it's going to change the world.
Jim, you told Nikunj that whenever you come to India next, you're going to gift him a silver coin. I hope you know that you're going to carry 2 more for Nayantara and me.
Well, I'll go down to the local market and buy all of you some. I'll buy each one of you a Bitcoin if we can find, if they still exist when I get to India.
We're happy to accept silver, no Bitcoins, please.
Not Bitcoins, silver coins.
Okay, when we go to the market, we will find something that will satisfy you. India is very big on silver, as you know. I own plenty of silver. Maybe we'll buy silver. Who knows what we will buy?
But is that the safe haven when it comes to commodities, Jim, right now? I mean, yeah, crude, of course, but that we've already talked about. Is silver the bet when it comes to commodities and precious metals?
I do not use the term safe whenever I talk about investments. There's no such thing as safe. I assure you, I've been doing this a long time. I wish I could find something safe. Silver is probably less dangerous than other things. Gold is probably less dangerous. I'm not buying them now because in a big collapse, everything goes down. But I probably will buy more silver when it goes down some more. What is safe? I don't know anything that's safe. Agriculture is probably less dangerous. Silver and agriculture are probably the least dangerous things in the next 2 or 3 years.
Jim, so in your assessment, what kind of scenario is going to unfold? One is a stagflation scenario. I'm just elaborating that question for the benefit of our viewers, where prices stay up, demand gets punctured. And second scenario is that we are in a high inflationary scenario where demand stays higher and asset prices also stay higher.
Well, no, the problem is the central banks. They don't know what they're doing, and so most of them will print a lot of money. Certainly in the U.S., Japan is printing huge money already. So you're going to see central banks print a lot more money, and that's why inflation will get worse because they don't know what they're doing. I've told you before, India had one of the best central banks we've had in the last 10 or 20 years recently. Unfortunately, he's gone now. I wish he were running the central bank in the U.S., but most central bankers don't know what they are doing. They try to save their jobs, and they'll print a lot of money, and that's why we have inflation.
Okay. Jim, what will be the implications of China's slowdown?
Its implication of what slowdown?
Of China's slowdown. The fact that the Chinese are still struggling to open their economy, and it's more like a yes, no, I don't know kind of an approach when it comes to COVID.
Well, China is the second largest economy in the world. So, of course, if it slows down, it's going to affect everybody. Not just people who deal with China, but other people too, because everybody gets affected. So the implications are, and it's the virus, the Chinese say it's because of the virus now. And whatever it is, though, when you have large economies like China slow down, it affects everybody. And you're going to see everybody slow down in the next recession. It's going to be a very serious period of time. Everybody should watch ET in order to make sure we survive.
Yes, everyone should and everyone does watch ET. Jim Rogers, always a pleasure having you on ET Now. Thank you so much for taking the time out.
It's my delight. And I just want to say, if you can find that former central bank governor of India, I think he's in Chicago now.
Yes,
Ask
he
him
is.
to come back. Ask him to come back and save India. Ask him to go to Washington and save America. He's a smart guy. There are not many bureaucrats who are smart. He was one.
He sure was. Raghuram Rajan. We'll get that message across to him. Jim Rogers, thank you so much.
Thank you very, very much. I hope to see you again.